sounds like instead of changing hats, you just continue to put more on. What questions do you ask yourself to make sure that you're on the path that's right for you?
Well, thank you for saying that. You know that I started as an attorney. And so I was an antitrust lawyer working at a law firm in Chicago. And to think that I would then carry that journey on to be the company's first chief diversity officer, I, again, never would have predicted it. I really just look at, am I interested in this opportunity? Is it going to expose me to something new? Am I going to be able to learn from this additional piece of work? And the rest of it comes later. The other thing that I really have always loved is problem solving. I love to look at big, complex issues and solving for how can I change this? How can I create results? How can I do something differently? And the last thing is always looking at, am I passionate about this? Is this something that I feel like I can get up every day and be excited about it? Each role that I have had in my career has that in common. It's allowed me to focus on my passion. It's allowed me to focus on solving complex issues and problems, and it's allowed me to be exposed to something new and different. And that's really what I've sort of kept at the forefront as I've made decisions.
Sure. And with that winding career path, you've taken on a lot of positions where you don't have the prior experience that a lot of people would expect you to have. Yeah. So how did you navigate those periods of uncertainty, and what steps did you take to prepare yourself?
As much as I said yes to lots of different opportunities, I definitely had moments when the minute I said yes, I was also like, what did I just do? Like, did I just make a big mistake? How am I going to approach this? And feeling a little overwhelmed of, am I going to really be able to be successful? I had to step back from those moments of panic. I've had them to say, okay, Jolene, you have done different things. You can do this, and give myself mini pep talks all the time. Even when I took on the Chief Diversity Officer role, I dove into it. I consumed as much information as I could about diversity and inclusion. What were the latest trends? How were companies tackling it? What was the research out there? What were the different things? What were things working? What wasn't working? I reached out to all of my contacts and I said, who knows a chief diversity officer? Who's doing work in this space? And I set up informational interviews with as many chief diversity officers as I could speak to. And I said, what have you been doing? What has your journey been? How can I learn from you? Then you put your own spin on it, right? Because there's an opportunity to say, how can I bring a little part of me to this role? And that's why I really love doing diversity and inclusion work, because it is at the end of the day helping the company adopt a strategy where it shows people that bringing that little piece of them, that authentic self, really is what we want. That's how you get your best out of your people. And so it's nice that I'm able to help Visa think about how to do that.
How has your idea of diversity and inclusion changed over time?
I think one of the biggest surprises that I had when I first started really focusing around diversity and inclusion is the idea that inclusion is a competency that can be learned. It can be broken down into a set of behaviors that you teach people, and you can get better at it. And that was a real moment for me. Once I understood that, I was all over it. When you can break something down and therefore teach leaders and individuals how to be inclusive, it's not fluff. It's things that are general good leadership behaviors. It's asking people what they think. It's creating an environment where people feel like they can challenge you as a leader. It's stopping to look around the room and say, what do you think? It's acting in a way that's empathetic to your employees. It's showing your own vulnerability and authenticity of a leader, so people feel like they have permission to also show that themselves.
You've touched on a lot of your journey, and I wanted to ask you more specifically, how has your experience been being a woman in Silicon Valley?
So I'm constantly thinking about one, as a person who is a person of color, who's a woman, who's potentially a bit younger than individuals who would be in my sort of level of the company. How do I show up? What is the perception? How am I really representing the view of who I want to be as a leader, as a subject matter expert, as an HR professional? I'm always very conscious of what is that viewpoint. And I think sometimes it's challenging when you don't necessarily have those visible examples of leadership directly around you, right? And so when you are a woman, when you are a person of color, and there aren't necessarily individuals who reflect you in mass, surrounded in your immediate sort of vicinity, sometimes you have to figure out things in different ways. And so that's where I have relied on my own sort of personal board of directors, which includes my parents, my sisters, my friends, my teachers, to really help me challenge myself and problem solve in ways where I feel like I have support both internally at the company as well as externally.
And I mean, just something that you've touched on that I've always really admired about you is just that you've always been good at bringing your whole self to work, right? So you don't shy about talking about your children, and even when you're away on leave, you didn't let that put any sort of stop or halt or pause to your career.
Yeah.
And you have 3 children, 2 twin daughters.
Yeah.
So, you know, in 20 years, how do you envision the world looking for them?
As I always say, it's very interesting about diversity professionals because we are all trying to work ourselves out of a job. Like, my goal at the end of the year or at the end of the day is to say, I really hope that organizations can become just seamless in terms of having these strategies, and that everyone really does feel and is able to prioritize putting diversity and inclusion at the forefront of what they're trying to do. We haven't done it yet. I still have a job, knock on wood, so maybe it's a good thing. But that's always my goal, is in 20 years, I really hope that I'm not having to talk to my daughters about breaking any glass ceilings, about being the first to do anything, that they naturally feel like they're just part of that. Like, I'm always thinking about how can I continue to help them feel like there are no boundaries, that there's nothing that they can't do, that we are addressing a lot of these biases that exist that send messages about the limits of anyone's potential. And I really want them to hopefully work in a world where those opportunities seem endless.